Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and we're playing a 2 versus 2 battle here on the Mosquito Swamps. It's going to be an interesting one. Lizard men this time are teaming up with the High Elves to clear out the Skaven infestation that you can see deployed across from us. So let's go ahead and pop on the unit icons. So what's going on here? Well, the enemy has a huge Skaven force, tons of fodder units up through the front. We played a couple rounds of battles against these guys, so they had a nice combination of builds. It seems like their kind of go-to build is to intermix clan rats, plague monks, basically a cheap-ish front line with then some reinforcement storm vermin mixed in with some heroes, and then in the back they're going to have their warp lightning cannons to fire away at your big units to take targets out. Anything that gets caught up is then going to get focus fired by the second or third rank of these poison wind globadiers. They also have rat ogres to come in to reinforce, death runners on the flank with an assassin. This is a nice little Clan Ashen build here, coming around and killing people inside. I believe it's Clan Ashen who's going to be the assassination army. But anyways, those guys are concealed and on that flank. So we'd fought them a couple times before, and I figured they would bring a similar build. So what I've decided to do is bring a counter build. So my counter build as the High Elves is, well, if you're going to bring numbers, I'm going to bring numbers. And I think that's a pretty good choice. You can see the numbers count is pretty much, they're only 700 above us, and that's a lot owed to the fact that I have a ton of high elf infantry. So most of my build is going to be almost like 50% spears, 50% bows, so a lot of fodder units mixed in with a couple lords. So on the right hand flank I have 2 nobles and a bunch of spears. So knowing that the Skaven wanted to target our heroes, I kept them hidden, and then I give them a little bit of defense in the form of a couple cohorts of these spearmen. And basically what I did is I strung out some units in the center just to poke and prod at the enemy. 2 archers backed up by 2 spears to reinforce, to start to pepper the front ranks. And what I'm going to go after is going to be these plague monks and start to piecemeal take apart. They can fire back with their warp lightning cannons, but if you're using a warp lightning cannon to take out a 435 gold archer unit, that is going to be a loss on his part. I may lose this unit, but the time and the investment in that unit is not going to be a good trade. So that's why I can kind of get away with a little bit of kite, and that's why I like to do this, kind of like dedicate just enough to the center to do damage, but not enough for the enemy to warrant going after it. If they do decide to come in with overwhelming strength, then I have a flank ambush set up, and they don't quite know where our forces are. It looks like a lot of our troops are in the forest here. The enemy sees some of them, and they're imagining that a lot of our troops are in the forest, which they are. They are. I mean, don't count this out. We still have a lot of forces on the flank, but it would appear the vast majority, maybe 70% of our troops are in the forest. So you're going to have my ally, Temple Guard, lots of Source Warriors. I told him going into this battle, hey, ditch a lot of your monsters and just go for infantry. We're going to have to bowl over the Skaven army. Anything monstrous is going to be countered by their build, and so this is why we have a lot of these guys. Backing this up, this is where I've put 2 of my Sword Masters of Hoeth. So I did bring some elite infantry to grind through the Skaven chaff. But most of this is going to be all the rest of my archers pushing up through the Mosquito woods here. See them pulling up, and yeah, their objective is to seize the hill. The hill is going to give us some nice overview on the enemy. We're going to fire down, force them back, and we have the protective cover of the woods from the enemy artillery. Anyways, my bows are going to start pushing in, and you can see the enemy doesn't quite know how to react. They really want to throw in a lot into this, but I'm going to start focusing fire on the plague monks. These guys have almost no armor, and so this is going to do tremendous damage. Focus fire on the second ranks against the halberd units. And yeah, they're pretty pissed at this, so they're going to send almost an entire army. They're going to charge up against us on this flank, or at least attempt to, but we're going to really ward them away. So it looks like their objective here, you can see he's popping all sorts of abilities, rally, all that to get his forces to plow forward. And what they're thinking is, hey, we're going to ignore this force, and we're going to knock out this little contingent, and then they're going to bottle us up, isolate us, and fire away with their warp lightning cannons. Now that would work as a really good strategy if I didn't have my little ambush here, so that's why I always like to bring a little bit of a second backup to my deployment. Anyway, the enemy is charging forward with a lot of units, death runners. I love the enemy composition here. They have such a variety of troops, really cool stuff. But I'm just going to pull back, and I'm just going to try and goad them into an ambush here. So yeah, pulling back, and then firing over here on this flank, targeting these poison wind globadiers. They definitely want to take them out. They have a lot of armor, but they can decimate our big units, which we have a couple in the way of lords. I'm really going to force this back. I don't want to shoot at Skaven's spears. Those can easily be dealt with by these skink cohorts and other units. And you can see the enemy here is going to be running scared, so they fear this big push. Nonetheless, they're going to continue to plow forward, and now this is exactly the moment I was hoping to have happen. A lord sent forward thinking he can deal with this, and all I'm going to do is pull him back to the spearmen. The enemy thinks that they can completely envelop our forces, but I have another hidden ambush unit on the left, and then over here, let's watch our units. The horns are going to blare once the enemy has been caught. And so now I'm going to countercharge in here. He does disrupt, really wants to get in on my bows. But again, it's just bait, and here goes the ambush. So here we go, popping out of the Mosquito woods come the Elven spears. Let's watch this glorious charge. So here goes the ambush on the enemy there, hoping to catch my archers. This looked like it would have been a loss if I had only had these troops, but nope. Spears are going to hold the front. Spears are going to come in from the flank. Bows are now disengaged, can fire straight into this warlord, and now here comes the huge crush. Prince is going to wade through the center and really cleave through this Skaven chaff. Meanwhile, the other forces are going to go on a beeline to the back lines. This is where our enemy really wants to save their warp lightning cannons, their poison wind globadiers, the vulnerable units in the back. So now I'm going to be executing this push. Some units are going to be sent to help clean up the back, and I actually have some nice reinforcements of Temple Guard, Source Warriors, all going to help to eliminate this front, plus a Scar Veteran. So this, we've kind of pulled the enemy into our own ambush, which is freaking awesome. Our own envelopment, sorry. They were hoping to envelop my minor force, but then we popped this ambush on them and absolutely destroy them. This unit here is standing flat-footed. It's going to get charged from the flank. Let's go ahead and watch this. Meanwhile, in the distance over there, you can see the archers on the hill have been taking a bit of a beating from artillery, but they're really forcing back the enemy here. They don't want to engage, and now they've been forced to pull back past the artillery. Never a position you want to be in. Warlock Engineer is going to try and pull up. And yeah, there you go. Warp lightning shots, but again, these are cheap troops, so I don't mind him wasting shots on them at the end of the day. Although actually it's not so much a waste. I do have my Swordmasters of Hoeth now pushing forward to reinforce the front ranks. Some of them are going to go left to beat those guys back. The other are going to charge in through the center to reinforce these skink cohorts and really help out. Meanwhile, focus fire is going to be going against this warlord. I do have my prince fighting to force him back, and that's going to help shore up our front ranks. And here comes this big flank. This is the Death Runner Assassin ambush coming around this side. So now I'm going to retrain with my bow to try and fire into them. I do believe they have, dodge. So that's going to take away how much damage I'm able to do. I'm going to pull back with my spearmen, try and blunt their assault, but they're coming in full force. This is a really nice, swift move to try and get at my archers. And they're going to pop concealment to try and hide. It's going to work on one of these units, but the other one is free. Continuing to pull back with my guys. I'm not going to get ample cover, so some of these are going to have to go down. The rest are going to continue to fire, though. Anyway, so that's a nice little way to neutralize my guys. Swift, easy. This is where you want one cavalry force. Boom, knocks that out. Unfortunately, we didn't bring any cavalry for this fight. Or we did. There's some horned ones running around, and they actually punched through the center. So the gap that happened when the enemy pushed forward opened up a big opening for our cavalry to plow on through. So now they can hit these poison wind globadiers and start to get at the enemy rear ranks, where they're trying to form up with the line. A lot of chaff in the back to try and protect. But one of my nobles has waited all the way into the rear. Is going to be taking out these warp fire throwers. The warlord on his bonebreaker can perhaps engage, but he may be threatened here by some spearmen and others plowing forward. Meanwhile, over here, the reinforcing Source Warriors have done a ton of help. Lord Mazdamundi here, however, has been isolated by this warlord, so this is not looking good for our lord. Overall, the engagement is going pretty well. However, the enemy has pushed forward with plague monks, destroying my archers, chasing after some more archers, but my spearmen are going to come back so I can deal with that. Meanwhile, this encirclement that we've had against clan rats and store vermin is going very well. The lord here not very well committed. He's kind of just holding strong in the center of this formation. I'm going to try and pull him through in the near future. I'm more occupied with microing this force and trying to keep the push going. Yeah, these horned ones, cold one riders, I guess we downgraded them, need to get into this fight. They might be a little bit scared of these spears, but that's why I brought my own spears to try and force them back. Let's go ahead and take a look at the assassin forces. So they have finished off some of my archers. Got more to worry about the mosquitoes in these woods. Gonna take them out, and then more of them are getting in at my archers and really doing a jolly good mess. The assassin is in here. He's isolating my spearmen. And yeah, I would ideally like to bring back my Swordmasters of Hoeth, but they're finished cleaning up these Skaven slaves, and more chaff is going to be thrown in to tie them down. Meanwhile, the prince here, the only noble on my side, armed, with a horse, I should say, mounted with a horse. So yeah, he does have some swiftness. He can get out of this combat if he needs to. He's going to be focused down by the enemy warlord. You can see the enemy really knows what they're doing. They're going to go after our lord. I'm going to pull out of this fight soon, but our Cold One Riders doing a good job of tearing through. This Scar Veteran's going to come in to help out. On this front, Mazdamundi has been destroyed by this warlord. Let's see if we can find his collapsed throne. Where'd he go? Maybe he was able to pull out of the fight. I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, there he is. On Slock, he's still doing okay, so good thing he was able to pull out of that and heal. This warlord's going to try and pull through and help this front, but here comes my noble, committed to the center. And yeah, he's going to try and tip the tides of this battle, but this ambush was decisive. More units having been committed, but yeah, we're doing pretty well. Ooh, Comet of Cassandora landing in amongst those Storm Vermin, hitting a lot of his own troops, but that's alright. I think we're going to win this one. The warlord here just watching his rats get slaughtered. Meanwhile, our forces are going to continue to push forward through the center. My prince has extradited himself from that little battle. The warlord here now body slamming these units, reinforced by warlocks, so they might be able to hold, but the center line has been blasted through, and we're now at the warp lightning cannons, which were the thorn in our side there. Charge through and really suppress us. This other one going to try and pull back and do a final stand, which may be possible. I mean, they are cleaning up our guys with this assassination unit. I did turn about with some Swordmasters of Hoeth to try and clean up the Death Runners, reinforced by Saurus Warriors and some archers coming back. We might be able to force these guys back, but they have been really brutally effective. 123 kills on them, 70 on that guy, and the assassin over here with 51 kills, so doing a good job on that flank. But the enemy center still has been carved through, and now with some of my infantry pouring through, we just had just enough numbers. We're still trailing on Skaven, but at this point in the battle, Skaven definitely wants to have much more in the tank than this. Their warlord's doing really good work. These Bonebreakers are excellent. The good thing for me is I still have very healthy lords. The noble on this side, Mazdamundi still on this side. So at the end of the day, we still have some very healthy units. The ambushing force here really held out. Getting a fair amount of kills, archers even rallying. And yeah, so now we can circle back around. We're trying to chase down this Bonebreaker, really want to see him off. Slack is going to get a nice strike at him. Force him to flee, and there he goes. He's now going to run away. Don't have much that can chase him, but at least we're going to see him off the battlefield. And start to rally some of these troops back into the center. The enemy is starting to reform their rear lines. But we focus down the warlord, and the enemy is going to pull in their warlock engineers. Trying to get probably some lightning strikes on our forces and just try and save their lords, because if the lords go down, Skaven at this number is probably going to rout pretty soon. Oh, let's get a nice view of the lightning cannons and the warriors here. That's awesome, claiming our prizes of war. So we go with many losses. We've been finally able to clean this up. This assassin going down, but still getting 75 kills to his name. That's pretty epic stuff. And yeah, look at the amount of deaths that happen here. Skinks against the chaff of the Skaven. That's quite the battle. But I mean, Swordmasters of Hoeth still with some units can be charging through. We're going to try and kill this Warlock Engineer. Oh man, we have a jolly good mess here. That's an awesome view. All kinds of craziness happening here. Yeah, these Rat Ogres still doing good damage. Ooh, looks like Warlock Engineers trying to get some strikes off. Doing a fair amount of damage, but we have Temple Guard here, so that's pretty good. And they have a lot of those. Ooh, Apotheosis causes fear. Yeah, so that's great. And really help our guys out. And we're having a bit of a duel. My prince comes in here. The enemy knows that he might be in some trouble, so he does that ability to throw my prince back, but the other prince mounted on a horse is not going to be thrown away. He does get caught, and so this Bonebreaker does make it its escape, as well as some of these Warp Lightning Cannons somehow in the thick of it managing to wheel themselves out of combat. They're going to turn back around point blank and try and fire into these guys. They are crazy. Looks like they're going to try and shoot at Mazdamundi here. Bonebreaker coming back, but my spears did come in, and I think with that, I think this Bonebreaker had just broken, which triggered the collapse of the rest of the Skaven force. So that was quite a battle. Like I said, the enemy build was really good. We'd fought it once previously, so I kind of knew what to expect. And I had last time faced them with kind of a more standard elven build, some lords, some big units, and they just held us in place with their chaff and fired away with their rear ranks, the rat ogres, the warpluck engineers, just shattering our front line. So their build was spectacular. And I feel like we countered it really well. I think the best way to beat that is, you know, just if they're going to spam units, we're going to spam units. Don't give them anything of high value to target and just grind it out. And that's something that high elves can do. When you have lots of units like this, I mean, the spearmen are pretty reliable. Cover the front and just charge in. And against most of Skaven units, they can do pretty well. Against the monsters, they'll do well. Holding the front line, they'll do pretty well, especially when it comes to you know, having a lot of your unit strength. They'll just be able to tank it out pretty effectively. Throw in a couple dismounted lords for passive buffs, and I think you're well on the way to beating the Skaven buff. And that may be one way to play the high elves, is just rely on their just cost effectiveness of low tier troops and bring a lot of them. So yeah, that's what you saw this battle. Let's end the replay and take a look at some of the final stats. So yeah, you can see the enemy here with tons of units. And again, I was really happy with the unit variety that they brought. But yeah, look at this. Skaven Slave Spears, Clan Rats, so a slow tier up. Just a couple Storm Vermin, Death Runners, Warp Lightning Cannon. So this army of Donut didn't perform as well, but Whoop here did a bit better. The Warp Lightning Cannon, again, triple Chevron, 127 kills, so he was sniping high value units, probably my Sword Masters. And I really liked his Death Runner build with the Assassin on the flank. That was pretty awesome, really good, equivalent to kind of like bringing cavalry to chase down archers, but in this case, they can actually fight spears pretty handily, so that's a nice little trick up their sleeve. In terms of my army, you can take a look at this. Yeah, like I said, I just brought the numbers, and the spearmen seem to trade out very effectively. Swordmasters of Hoeth committed a little bit once the fight was engaged and just came to clean up and reinforce certain positions. 332, really going to town. 57 as well, awesome. The archers here just to soak up enemy fire, and they did a fair amount of damage themselves. The lords doing okay, doing a lot of passive buffs for the most part. 106 really helping on that flank. Meanwhile, Rip Jagged here brought a more infantry-focused build, a lot of kills on his Saurus Warriors, and actually Mazdamundi here with 179, probably getting some breath spells and whatnot. Comet of Cassandora on the enemy. So yeah, he did good work. And skink cohorts are worth bringing against Skaven because you can kind of match the chaff. They're a little bit above clan rats, I believe, and you can kind of spam these guys to help tie down the enemy and then allow your Saurus Warriors to just chew through the center, which they did. Cold One Riders I would have dissuaded him against because I thought they would have been targeted down and just not been able to find an opening, but my ally found a perfect opening with that void we opened up in the center. They were very critical, charging through the middle and hitting the vulnerable units, Poison Wind Globadiers, some of the Warp Lightning Cannons, and yeah, so that was pretty excellent. And then Temple Guards always being very good, getting up to a silver chevron here with 126 kills. They must have killed some lords and probably a whole bunch of rat ogres. But that's it for this fight. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.